Would you wear the same shoes for every occasion? Or rock the same outfit 7 days a week? Of course not. Your style is better with options. Your investments could be too. SIBO Index options give you access to various contract sizes, global trading hours, and potential tax advantages. That's a good look for any portfolio. If you're ready to invest in style, head to betterwithoptions.com. There are risks associated with SIBO company products. Review the disclosures and disclaimers at sibo.com/US_disclaimers.
Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel, at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. The ToosDay Crue is here, hosted by Stephen LaMonica and Jake Collin. It is a Misfit Nation production that brings powerful stories of grit, resilience, and leadership to life. Stephen is a business leader and YouTube consigliere, ensures the show runs smoothly, providing real-time feedback and maintaining discipline during live broadcast. Jake, a 25-year Army veteran and former EOD tech. We call him Hurt Locker. We call him Lacey. Offers deep insights from his extensive service, which includes multiple combat deployments and VIP missions around the globe. Together, they welcome guests from diverse backgrounds to share their journeys, inspiring listeners with stories of overcoming adversity and leading with purpose. Whether you're tuning in for the insightful discussions or to enjoy Stephen's passion for NASCAR or Jake's anecdotes from his farm in Kentucky, the ToosDay Crue delivers a unique blend of entertainment and inspiration every week. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ToosDay Crue! All right. It's Tuesday. We got a guest. It's a great night here. I'm in Tennessee. Jake's in Kentucky. Steve's in Jersey. We're ready to rock this night. But first, we pay homage to those we lost in the last weeks. First, we have Detective Clarence E. Word III, New York City Police Department. End of watch Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. Next, we have Detective Sergeant Monica Mosley, 51 years old, detective of the Cumberland County Prosecutor's Office in Bridgeton, New Jersey. End of watch October 17th. Let's keep them in your thoughts, prayers, their families, their friends, and let's try by the grace of God to get to Thursday without putting more names on this list. So without further ado, let's welcome Jake. Let's welcome Steve. Let's get the ToosDay Crue.
Here we are. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Hey, Misfit Nation, we love you. Thank you for joining the ToosDay Crue. Remember to like and subscribe. Stephen, before we get started, we got a little bit more sad news to share since we last were together on October 15th. EA-18 Growler crash on Mount Rainier, just the east side of Mount Rainier, Washington. Lieutenant Commander Lindsey P. Evans and Lieutenant Serena N. Wildman of the United States Navy. They both lost their lives. We would like to offer our condolences to their family and to the crew of the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower for that loss. Our thoughts and prayers are with them.
Yes, they are. So how are you this evening?
I'm good. Spent the day in the truck with the boss. Took a nice drive to beautiful Tullahoma, Tennessee for work.
That's nice.
Had lunch and came back. So it was a good day. It was a good day. Little bit of, you've been here before. You know how I-24 is between Clarksville and Nashville. So yeah, it was.
It's either wide open or it's a shit show.
Well, today was the shit show. So also want to mention and thank you, Rich, for popping that on the screen. Sergeant Sarah Roque, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. She had been reported missing yesterday. They found her today, sadly deceased. Our thoughts and prayers go out to her family.
Way too much death.
Yeah, way too much. I can understand, the operational deaths, military training and operations, but the murder, the hate,
senseless shootings. It's all getting out of control.
I can't quite get over that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, what would you like to have more of, Stephen? Money? Would you like to have more money?
Or what?
More money. Would you like to have more money?
You said, what would you like more of? Money or
Well, money.
well, money? Yes.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure most of our listeners would like to have more. Would like to have a little more financial stability. Tonight we have a guest coming in that is described as a money mastermind. So hopefully he'll be able to share some tips with us on how to better manage our money, maybe some stuff to do or not do.
Even at our great age that we're at now up there, it's not just for the younger ones to start. We can do it too.
Oh, I'm sure we can do it too. It's never too late. It's never too late.
I'm one lottery ticket away from being a millionaire.
You and me, matter of fact, me and Rich were just talking about that today. If we win the lottery, we're taking the podcast on the road.
There you go.
Well, hey, without any further ado,
they go.
Without any further ado, we're going to bring in here from Las Vegas, Nevada, Pericles Rellas, and I basically said what you did. So why don't you start from wherever you want to start to what got us to where we are now?
Great. Jake, Stephen, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be with you guys. You know, talking about money, it's like, what do you want more of? Do you want more money? And most of us would say, yes, we want more money. And the crazy thing about that conversation is, while I think the majority of the population would say yes to wanting more money, most of us don't really understand the basic fundamentals of money, of what it is, how it works, how to use it, how to leverage it, how to keep it, how to grow it. We just don't grow up in a culture like that. And if anyone's like me, when I was growing up, my parents never talked about money. We weren't allowed to ask questions about money. We certainly weren't allowed to ask people how much they made or how they made it or questions about money. It was just assumed that everybody knew about money. And so we kind of grow up with this blind spot around money. So flash forward, a few decades, and I'm starting to launch my career as a business coach. And I start working with my clients who are interested in either growing and expanding a business or growing and expanding the amount of money that they make. And over a short period of time, I start to notice these amazing results in what my clients are earning. But at the end of every single month, they're in the same situation they were before I started working with them. So if they were somebody that was always behind every single month, they were making more money, but they were still behind. If they were someone who was just treading water, they were making more money, but they were still just treading water. If they were someone who had stress and anxiety around money, they're making more money, but they've still got stress and anxiety around money. And I couldn't figure this out. It just didn't make sense. But what I did notice was it was the same conversation across the board with every single one of my clients. And I knew there had to be something going on here. And so I started to study it and started to really research it and dive into what's going on. And over the course of the next 2 years, I discovered two things. One is that we all have a money mindset, or what I like to call a financial thermostat. And our financial thermostats determine how much money we can earn, how much money we can keep, as well as our thoughts, feelings, and emotions around money. And the second thing that I discovered were the 4 keys to resetting our financial thermostat so that we can earn more, we can have more, and we can have a better relationship with money and ultimately with ourselves. And so from that point forward, I started delivering this education to my clients, and the results were extraordinary. And then within the next 5 years or so, I really shifted my focus from just being a business coach to being a money mindset coach. So that's what I've been doing for the last 25 years. And that's kind of how we all got to be here today.
All right. That's some good stuff. And to go back on what you were saying, it was considered impolite to ask, hey, what do you could usually tell by what kind of car somebody drove, or, what kind of house they lived in, what kind of clothes they wore. But you didn't know, you just thought, you're a kid, you thinking, oh, they got a lot of money. You didn't know that, well, you know what? They might have X amount of debt because of all that.
Right.
And that's just one of those things. And still, you really don't know, but you can kind of tell, people who have it and people who pretend like they have it.
Well, and nowadays it's even worse because we live in a culture. It's kind of that Instagram culture where everybody wants to look like the part. And there are a lot of people in our culture, there are a lot of people that want to look like they have a lot of money when in fact they don't have a lot of money. And looking like they have money is more important to them than actually having the money. So, if we start to peel back all the layers, the fancy clothes and the jewelry and the Instagram pictures and the cars, we actually find exactly what you're talking about. We find people who are living well beyond their means, who are accumulating growing debt rather than building the kind of wealth that they want. So it becomes more important to look the part than it actually is to have the wealth that they want people to think they have. And the conversations that I have and the education that I provide is all about people having the kind of wealth that they want. And what I find is when we actually start to have the kind of wealth that we want, several things happen. One, all those superficial things start to disappear. It's no longer important what we look like. We don't care what other people think about us. We care about the content of our character. We care about, are we living a life that's true to who we are? And are we behaving in a way that's consistent with that? Are we treating others the way we want to be treated? Are we behaving in a way that elevates people? Or are we more interested in just that superficial, I've got money? And so that's one of the reasons I do the work that I do and enjoy it so much, is I get to see who people, I don't want to say become because they're already that. Money magnifies who we already are. So money isn't evil. Money isn't good. It just magnifies or amplifies who we already are. And for most of the people that I work with, they find that there are these really amazing traits about themselves that they allow money to magnify. Now, there are some people where they allow the negative parts of their personalities to get magnified, but that's not who I'm talking about. I'm really talking about people who want to do good in the world, want to be good in the world, and want to have amazing lives.
Okay. All right. Can you touch a little more on the financial thermostat?
Yes, absolutely. I use the word thermostat simply because it's a name we can all relate to. We've all worked with a thermostat at some point in our lives, and usually all the time, every day. Right now I'm in a season in Vegas where it's starting to get colder at night and it's still a little warm during the day. And I have my thermostat in my office set at a certain temperature. And that thermostat has one singular job: to maintain stasis, to maintain the room temperature at whatever temperature it is. So if it's 72 degrees and we open up the window and it's 100 degrees outside and all that hot air comes flowing in, thermostat just kicks on the AC and brings that room back down to 72. And the inverse is true as well. Really cold outside, we're going to turn on the heat and it's going to get it warm. Our financial thermostats are designed to do the exact same thing with money. When we have a financial thermostat setting of a certain amount of money, even if we're fortunate enough to make a lot more money than that, that thermostat will kick on and it will start disappearing that money. We see it all the time. We can see professional athletes who've made tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in the course of their careers. They retire and they go bankrupt within 5 years, within 7 years. It's because their financial thermostats were not set at the level it needs to be set to manage that kind of money. You were talking about the lottery earlier and taking the podcast on the road if you win the lottery, right? 80% of all lottery winners go broke within the first 5 years because their financial thermostats are not set to manage that kind of money. So they just
because
keep disappearing it.
you don't need that private jet, and you don't need this.
Exactly. You know, it's interesting. I was just reading an article about Al Pacino. He just released a book and he's talking about it. He said, I had $50 million. He said, and I didn't speak the language of money. I didn't understand the language of money. He's referring to his financial thermostat, not that distinction, but he's referring to it in the same way. He doesn't understand how money worked. And so he just kept disappearing it and disappearing it and disappearing it until he was about to go broke. And he said, I had to take movies just to pay the bills. That's an extraordinary thing for somebody to acknowledge. And I really give him such props for doing that, because not everybody wants to admit that we've made mistakes around money simply because we didn't understand it. So let's go back to the financial thermostat, if I can, for a moment. The financial thermostat is all about money and how it flows. So money is a currency. And like any current, it flows like a current. It flows like electricity would flow, or water would flow, or air would flow. It has a distinct way in which it flows, in that it flows in a circle. So money flows to us, through us, and away from us, and then back around to us, through us, and away from us, with a reservoir on the side that we get to keep. Now, because it flows in this circular pattern, blocks anywhere in that flow are blocks everywhere in that flow. So if we've got a block in the flow of money coming to us, it's going to stop money flowing away from us and ultimately back around to us. And at the end of the day, that reservoir on the side that we get to keep. So blocks in the flow of money coming to us look like, I think money is the root of all evil. I hate the wealthy. I hate my boss. I hate people who have money. These conversations that are running in the back of our minds constantly are blocks in the flow of money coming to us. We cannot become that which we hate or that which we resent. So if we resent the wealthy, or if we think money is evil, we're never going to be able to bring in more money into our lives. And if we do, by some lucky charm, we're going to disappear it so that we bring ourselves back down to what we think is normal in that financial thermostat setting. Blocks in the flow of money going away from us are things like, I hate paying my taxes. I hate paying people. I never want to pay retail. I always want to try to negotiate a cheaper price. I want to really screw them and get the best price possible. I just don't want to pay people. I don't pay people that I know I owe money to. All of those things are going to block money flowing away from us and ultimately coming back around to us. So what we need to do is start to notice what those blocks are and then clear them. And when we clear those blocks up, what happens is money starts to flow more abundantly and more fruitfully in our lives. And then we're able to save more. We're able to build more wealth. And then every time we notice a new block, clearing those blocks out as well.
Well, I think a lot, yes, you can teach in this, but it has to start when you're younger, because in the 90s, early 90s, I worked at Home Depot. And Home Depot in the 90s, you get stock, they were splitting 3 for 1, 5 for 1, and they were giving me stock. I was buying stock, and I was using it as a savings account. I'm like, oh, I want to go on vacation. I cashed in the stock, went on vacation. It was just money that was there that I didn't, really care about. If I was smart and I kept it there, I'd have a bundle of money right now. But I was a stupid freaking kid, and I'm like, oh, look, I got all this sitting here. Let me just go cash this, and I can go do this. And I got rid of money, and then all of a sudden, where the hell did it all go?
Yep.
It's something that needs to be trained sooner than later. I'm 55 now. We have somebody asking me a question that's in their 50s, how do they salvage their retirement by 60? Is there a way to do that?
Yep. This is I think this is something great that you're bringing up, Stephen, because you bring up two things that I want to point out. One is, you can teach an old dog new tricks. The majority of the people that I work with over the years are people who are older. Many of them come to me saying, you know what, I figured out everything in my life. I've got everything sorted except this, and I want to sort this before I retire. And they come in, they reset their financial thermostats, they get a whole new relationship with money and themselves, and suddenly life looks completely different. But you're also right in that we live in a world where oftentimes we have generational financial thermostats. So we have mothers and fathers passing on their negative financial thermostats to their children, and then their children perpetuate that and pass it on to their children, and so on and so forth. And at some point, we do want to break that cycle, and we want to start resetting our children's financial thermostats at an early age, so they just grow up in these conversations of money is abundant. Money always shows up in my life. Money is great. Money allows me to do the things that I want to do, rather than some of those negative conversations of money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work really hard to make money. You only get money if you're lucky or if you're evil. All of those negative conversations, if we clear those out, we can start to see our children growing up in a conversation of wealth and prosperity versus something different.
Okay. Anya, on Google Chat, I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, you can chime in again.
I didn't see the whole question. I caught almost all of it, but I was just trying to read it. I'm nearing 50 and constantly lived to work until a few years ago. How can I salvage a safe retirement by 65 years old? This is a great question, Anya. Thank you for asking it. And without knowing all the particulars of your situation, what I will say is start to look at what are the negative conversations you have about money. I'll never have enough. It'll never work out for me. I'm not smart enough. I'm not whatever enough. I'm just throwing things out, not knowing you at all. These are just things that I've dealt with before and seen before. But look to see what are the negative conversations you have around money. And then notice those negative conversations. And then I'm going to give you a 3-step process. It's very simple and really easy to apply. Notice the conversation, acknowledge it, and own it. Just like, okay, yeah, there's that conversation. I think money's the root of all evil. That's what I was taught my whole life. I've believed that my whole life, and I see that it's holding me back. Own it. Second, let it go and give it up. Say it out loud. I give up that conversation. That's no longer mine. I'm handing that over. I'm handing it over to God. I'm handing it over to the universe. I'm handing it over to the U.S. military. I don't care who you give it to. Give it up and let it go. Surrender it to someone or something else. And then in that space, when you feel this sense of like, wow, I really feel a little sense of release or relief around that, then declare, what is money for you now? Money is abundant and prosperous in my life. Money comes to me every single day, easily and effortlessly. Create some new declaration around what money is for you, and then write it down and say it over and over and over every day of your life. That little shift will alter and shift the trajectory of your life forever and ever. And you will turn around and look back in a week, in a month, in 6 months, in a year, and you will see that things are different for you around money. And by 65, you'll have a completely different relationship to money, and money will be in your life far more abundantly than it is right now.
Okay. We got another question coming in from Your Toe Online 3 on X. He says, I've heard people say you can't get buried with money. Is that a good mindset?
This is a great question. And yeah, I've heard that you can't get buried with it. Well, you could get buried with your money, but the bottom line is you're not taking it with you, right? It's just going to get wasted in that hole. And this is another great thing that we want to look at in our lives, is finding that balance. I know a lot of people who live their lives and they're saving and they never spend on anything because they want to make sure they have enough for when they retire. They live their whole lives terrified of not having enough money when they retire. And then they retire, and guess what happens? They think, well, I'm not bringing in any more money. I'm not earning any more money, so I can't spend any more money. So they live their whole lives never enjoying what money can provide for them. So find that balance for yourself. Look to see, what is it you want money for? How much do you want for each one of those things? And then start flowing money in those directions. And then when you get to that place where you've earned the money that you want to earn, and you've got the money saved for all the things that you want, then allow yourselves to enjoy that money, both in the present in the short term and in the long term. So you don't want to live a life of austerity and never really enjoy the pleasures of life and just work, work, work. Because the bottom line is, God forbid, you could get hit by a bus tomorrow and you've missed out on the opportunity to really enjoy life. Now, that doesn't mean that you're just going to go spend it all and get crazy and hope that something will turn up tomorrow. Find that balance for yourself. And the balance is different for everyone. Your balance is not the same balance as someone else, as me, as Jake, as Stephen. Find what that balance is for yourself. Find the joy and happiness in it and allow yourself to experience that. Because at the end of the day, that's what's most important. Are you living a joyous life right now? Are you experiencing life to its fullest?
Okay. Along that same line, my grandfather had a theory. He said that the last check that you should write should be to the undertaker and it should bounce.
I love that. It's really great. And I think, there are a lot of people that live that way. And I think it's awesome if that's what you want to do. If you want to go out like at a zero-sum game where you've spent it all, where there's nothing left over because it's your life and you want to live it that way, great, then do that. Like live it to the fullest. And if that's not who you are, if you're somebody who wants to save money and leave a legacy behind for friends or for family or whoever, then live that life. Find the right answer for you, because there is no one answer for everyone. Any coach that says to you, I have the right answer for everyone, run. You want to turn tail and run, because there is no one answer for everyone. There is only the right answer for you. And a great coach will find the right answer for each person that they're working with inside of the context of the type of work that they do.
All right. Excuse me for a second. Somebody forgot to plug in my laptop.
Maybe the check bounced. That's why they didn't plug in the laptop, right?
That's what it was. Well, why don't we talk about some of the success stories from one of your clients?
Yeah, I think, let's see, I'm trying to think. There are several. There's one, I worked with a gentleman, just an extraordinary man. He was a historian, he had several degrees in U.S. history, and he was also a pastor. And so he combined those two things together, and he lived his life talking about our cultural as well as our religious history and how they kind of blended together and how they kind of developed over time through the history of the United States. And when I first started working with him, he said to me, Pericles, I just want you to know my time has no value. I have no value to my time. I cannot charge for what I do. I've never charged for what I do. I give it away all the time. Somebody asked me to go give a lecture on this, I'll go talk for free, or here or there. He says, I can't, I just don't know how to do that. And I'm clear it came from when I was a very young boy, when I was growing up, that I needed to just give it all away. And I have to shift that conversation. And so we started working together. And over the time that we worked together, he moved from giving away his time to he doesn't open his mouth for less than $1,500 an hour. And he is booked out on a regular basis. In fact, he now works, I don't know if it's full-time, but he's got a regular gig on a cruise ship in the Mississippi, where he gets paid to be an expert on the cruise line, talking about what he loves, and he gets to go on these cruises all year long. So he's on a boat doing what he loves, talking about what he loves, interacting with people the way he loves, getting paid to do what he loves, and on a cruise ship at the same time. So it's a huge shift in his mindset in that financial thermostat, where he does have value. His time is worth something. And he now is clear about it. And it's not that he's being greedy about it. He's just clear there needs to be an equal or an equitable exchange, money for time and his expertise, so that people can benefit from what he spent his entire life learning. He's got multiple degrees. He spent thousands and thousands of hours, years and years doing what he does, so that he can provide that value. Now he gets a very favorable wage for doing what he does, and he gets to do what he loves. So it's a really great success story for someone who is in that kind of a situation. I've had other people who constantly stressed and worried about money. I had one client, such an extraordinary woman. She was an appellate attorney in the state of California, one of the top attorneys who had actually had cases go to the U.S. Supreme Court. And I remember when I first started talking to her, she's like, Pericles, I make a really good amount of money. She said, but I am just a mess when it comes to money. I don't know where my money goes. I pull into the driveway. I open my mailbox. I pull the mail out. I look through it. Anything that's a bill, I literally toss into the back seat of my car and I never look at it again. So she was constantly getting delinquency bills, constantly getting late notices, getting hit with fines and penalties on her credit cards because she was always late. And that was just her relationship with her money. She just didn't want to know where it went. She didn't care. She was just great at what she did as an attorney. So in working with her, she was able to turn that all around. And by the time we completed working, she knew exactly where her money was. She was way ahead on all of her bills. She had reduced all of her debt tremendously, and she was saving money in a way that she wanted to. She had the kind of life that she loved. She was able to go buy clothes when she wanted to buy clothes, go on vacation when she wanted to go on vacation, and not worry about the money of it. She knew that she had her finances in order, and it brought a sense of peace to her life. She no longer woke up in the morning worried about what delinquency note she was going to get that day or what negative email she was going to get, demanding money. All of that was gone. So we went from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum in a very short period of time.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And, you talk about, the money that's for you and saving money and everything. My other grandparents, my father's parents, their biggest fear in life. Now, they never owned a car. They didn't have much. Their biggest fear in life when they was saving money was that the county would have to bury them when they died. That was their motivation for saving money. They always paid all the bills and everything, but they always had to have X amount to take care of everything final because they did not want that to happen.
Yep. I remember my mom and dad, both of my grandparents on both sides of my family, my mom and dad's side, were immigrants. My dad's side were Greek immigrants, and my mom's side were French Canadian immigrants. And I remember my mom saying that to me at one. It was my mom or dad, I can't remember. That somebody died so poor that they ended up being buried in a pine box, and that was just for people of that age, that era, that was one of the worst things that could happen to them. Now, imagine, and I don't mean to diminish your grandparents at all. I'm sure they were amazing people, and they did what my grandparents did. They did what needed to be done in order to make a better life for themselves and for their kids and their grandkids. And they're extraordinary when we think about the lineage and the lives that people lived to allow us to live the lives that we lived. It's just extraordinary. But imagine living your life in that kind of fear.
Yes.
I don't want the county to have to bury me. I don't want to be buried in a pine box and be driven by fear in order to, we got a great outcome. They saved money and they were saving money. But imagine being able to do the same thing, but doing that from a place of joy and happiness, a place of fulfillment versus a place of fear. That's the kind of work that's the kind of place I want everyone to be, is really creating the kind of life that they want to live without there being that fear, that anxiety, that concern, where we never worry about money anymore. Money becomes an ally rather than an adversary, or worse, something evil, right? What if we had a relationship with money that empowered us? What if we had a relationship with money where we loved every moment of it? I have this distinction around money, or a correlation, I should say. It's not a distinction. Imagine that money is the same as a significant other. If we look at the way we treat money, the way we think about and interact with money. If we treated our significant other the same way, they'd be out of here faster than you could say, I'm gone. Think about it. Never enough. It's never around when we want it. We expect it to be there when we need it, when we want it. When we go out and buy something with it, we never are grateful for it. We never appreciate it. We just stop thinking about it until the next time we need it. Well, we can't be in a healthy relationship like that. And if we treated our significant other that way, they'd be gone in a heartbeat. But what if we treated money the way we ought to treat our relationships? What if we cherished them every time they walked into the room? What if we were constantly preoccupied with, how can I improve my relationship with them? How can I improve and make better my relationship with money? How can I enhance the experience? How can I honor and cherish it every time it's around me? You relate to your significant other that way. Oh my gosh, they're going to be talking about you forever and with everyone. I've got the best man in the world. You want to relate to money in the same way, because money as an energy will want to be around you, and your relationship, how you relate to it, will shift as well. I know I got off on a sidetrack on that, but it was one that just came up for me.
That's fine. Hey,
that's all right. I want to take you off track a second. You mentioned earlier about it being colder by you this morning. What do you consider cold?
Oh. Well, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, where we have no seasons, and now I live in Las Vegas, where we have desert seasons. So at night, when it gets really, really cold in the desert at night, and then it warms up during the day. But for me, when it gets into 68, that's when I start breaking out my coats, my sweaters.
Wow, because so I woke up this morning. I woke up this morning, it was 49 degrees. I threw shorts and a t-shirt on and started my day. But, here in Jersey, it starts that way, and like midday was 80 degrees. But still, I was trying to figure out where your cold was, because
my cold
was shorts and a t-shirt.
Upper 60s. Yeah, I had a friend who lived in Montana, and it used to get sub-zero, and he never wore anything but shorts. I'm like, dude, how can you do it? He said, I just don't feel the cold at all. And meanwhile, I'm in a parka and gloves and multiple layers, and I'm dying, right? So yeah, we all have our different thresholds.
As you were sitting there talking, it just kept going through my head. I'm like, what does he really consider cold? You said like 68. I'm like, wow, that's funny.
Yep.
It's 69 right now, and I'm still in shorts and a t-shirt.
We got another question. Sure. Just popped in.
I used to be like Vince Vaughn in Dodgeball and had a drawer of keepers that were my bills. It took me to the brink of bankruptcy and jail to realize keepers are not the best thing. Has anyone climbed back from a situation like mine in your client pool? Okay, so I want to make sure I understand the question. I did see Dodgeball a while ago, but keepers, meaning, if I recall, Vince Vaughn in Dodgeball was always giving things away. He was always, if somebody had a hardship, he was always, yep, come on in. And so he wasn't bringing in the kind of money that he should have been bringing in, given he was running a business. If that's the context of what you're talking about here, Mike, Mike 35, lost on Google, it's, I think, a very similar conversation from my first client that I was talking about, somebody who really didn't see the value of his time. Now, in one of my early conversations with him, he was able to distinguish that right away, that he didn't see that his time had any value. So for you, Mike, it may be something similar to that. It may be slightly different. And again, not knowing your situation specifically, and just from your question, I would ask you to look to see, when you're thinking about money, specifically in your situation, when you're thinking about someone paying you for your goods or services or your time, what is the predominant conversation that shows up in the back of your mind? For some people, it will be something like, you're not worth it. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You don't deserve this. Something in those areas. If you find that that's what's showing up for you, whenever it's time for you to say, hey, I did this service for you, this is what it costs. please pay me, right? If there's some negative conversation that starts to show up, notice that conversation. And then use those 3 steps that I talked about earlier. Notice it and own it, let it go, and then create who you are around money now. And that could be as simple as people pay me for my time. People see me for the value that I am. People love to pay me for what I do because it's worth it. I'm worth it. I'm worthy of it. Something like that. So those keepers, you want to let them go. And if they're keepers that people owe you on, maybe you want to look at going back to them and saying, you know what, I've been holding on to this keeper for a while, and I think it's time that we made this even. We brought this to conclusion, and I'd like you to pay me for it. Right? There are ways to do it that are great, and there are ways to do it that are not so great. But own your own self-worth, Mike. Own how much value you have and that you deserve it. And then let your actions go from there. Great question. Thank you for asking it.
All right. So what's 3 things, just off the top of your head, and I think you've already touched on them, but I want you to, wait a minute. Got another question.
All right.
From Ucrash Sue on X. Been noticing many recent clients do not have even 6 months of savings in the bank. And when an accident occurs, they are on edge knowing they could be broke. How do we break that cycle?
Yeah, this is a common thing for people. And I think there are several ways that we want to address this. First thing I want to say is usually when we hear people talking about this, they're saying create an emergency fund. You want to have an emergency fund. You want to have at least a certain amount of money in your emergency fund. Creating an emergency fund is the worst thing you can do. And I know that's counterintuitive, but let me explain my thinking about it. If you create an emergency fund, what are you going to have?
An emergency.
Emergencies. We are setting ourselves up for that which we want. We get what we focus on. Don't create emergency funds, folks. Create wealth funds. Create prosperity funds. That's what you want to be creating. Because when you're building and creating wealth, when you're building and creating financial prosperity, you will have money for any unexpected expenses that may show up. So that's the first thing I want to say about that. Stop building emergency funds. Build wealth. Build prosperity. That's what you want to be doing. Now, how do we deal with this? Most people don't know what they're spending their money on. One of the first things I have all my clients do when they start working with me is I want you to account for every single penny that you spend. And their eyes pop out of their head and their hair flies out. They're like, what? I can't do that. Yeah, you need to do that. Because if you want to be able to build wealth, you have to know where your money's flowing. You want to know where your money's coming from, and want to know where it's going. And most people have no idea for either of those. They really don't understand where their money's coming from or how much is coming to them, much less how much they're spending on all the things they're spending. So get a real grasp of what you're spending your money on and how much. Where is it going and how much are you spending? Take 1 month, go 1 month and document every penny. And then at the end of that month, go through and look at all the different categories. This is how much I spend on groceries. This is how much I spend on gas. This is how much I spend on blah, 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 blah. All of those things, cash included. A lot of us, we'll take our debit card now. We'll just tap. We don't even pay attention. Starbucks here, coffee there, a donut there, lunch here. All of those things, you want to start tracking it. And at the end of the month, look to see how much you spend on all those different areas. And the number one thing that my clients say when they've done this exercise is, oh my God, I can't believe how much money I waste every month. I cannot believe how much money I've been spending on this, that, or the other. And I didn't even realize that I was spending that much money. In that moment, they've got power. And the power that they have is they can now choose where they're going to spend their money, what they're going to spend their money on, and how much they're going to spend in each one of those areas. That will give you the ability to then start saying, you know what? I am going to start building wealth. And every month, I'm not spending money on this anymore because I don't want to. I'm going to spend money on this anymore. I'm not because I don't want to. It's stupid. I'm crazy for having done that. I'm now going to start flowing money into this short-term savings, into this long-term savings. I'm putting this amount into those two areas every single month, no matter what. And then you're going to look at all the other areas that you want to spend your money on. So those are the first two things that you want to do is one, don't create an emergency fund. And two, understand where your money is going. And then the next thing you want to do is really appreciate every single area that you are flowing money to. You know, a lot of people, they write the rent check or they write the mortgage check. I know we don't write checks anymore, but they're auto paid or auto deposit, whatever you're doing on those. And we resent it. We're annoyed by it. We hate paying that bill. Well, that's a block in the flow of money going away from you. That money is putting a roof over your head. That money is putting food on your table. All of the things that money is providing you, celebrate them and honor them and be grateful for it, because gratitude begets more gratitude. And when we celebrate and appreciate things, more of those things start to come into our lives. And then the last thing I would recommend that you do, start every single day in a space of gratitude. Open your eyes in the morning, put your hands on your heart, and think about the things in your life that you're grateful for. And if you're someone who's listening right now and you're thinking, well, I don't have anything to be grateful for, you want to shift that thought because you have things to be grateful for. There are people in the world who go to bed every single night praying to have the life that you and I live right now. I don't care what situation you're in. They would trade places with us in a nanosecond because the life that we get to live is by their terms, we're living a life of luxury. So find the thing that you can be grateful for, whether it's the person laying next to you, whether it's your dog, your cat, something else, whether it's the roof over your head, whether it's the fact that you opened your eyes and you have health and well-being today. You have the ability to express joy and happiness with someone else. Find something to be grateful for every single day. Start your day in that gratitude and then build on that throughout your life. The more every day, the more you're grateful for, the more things will come into your life for you to be grateful for. So those are the three things I would say.
I was going to be the smart ass and say when you wake up, put your hand on your head. I'm like, oh, good, it's actually beating today. So,
and you know what? That's great.
Be grateful. Be grateful for that.
Absolutely, be grateful for that. You know, I talk to people all the time, and they're like, I'm like, how you doing? Well, I'm above ground. Great. They say it as a joke, but it is actually something we can be grateful for. That I'm alive today. That I get another opportunity to be with my friends, with my family, to make the difference that I make in the world, to do the job that I do, whatever that is. I'm grateful for another day.
Awesome. We've got your website scrolling across the bottom here where people can get in touch with you. This has been a great chat.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
I've come away with a few things that I can change, and I like it.
Is that website the best way to get in touch with you, or is there better ways to get in touch with you?
They can go to my website. That is the absolute best place to go, periclesrellas.com. I have another website. They both go to periclesrellas.com, and it's resetyourfinancialthermostat.com. Either one is fine. And I recommend for anyone who's listening, if you want to take the first steps to resetting your financial thermostat, right in the front page of my website, there is a masterclass. It's free. All you have to do is put your name and email, and you can watch this. I think it's 26 minutes. My masterclass on how to reset your financial thermostat. There are the 4 keys, and these 4 things will give you everything you need free of charge to reset your financial thermostat and start to create a different and new relationship with yourself and your money. Absolutely recommend it. And then at the end of the masterclass, if it's something that you're interested in, if you're really interested in going to the next level, it'll tell you exactly how to do that if that's something you want to do. Not requisite at all. Just do the masterclass. Pull everything you can from it and apply it into your life. And I promise you, you take those steps, you will see a whole new relationship with your money and with yourself.
Awesome. Well, hey, it's been a great chat, Pericles. I'm going to get rid of my emergency fund. I've got what my mom and dad used to call mattress money. So,
yeah. And mattress money is totally fine. Look, you know what? If there is something, God forbid, catastrophic that occurs, and things occasionally happen, it is nice to have some cash lying around. You know, what if we have this, you know, I don't know, all of the electricity goes out for a period of time and people can't get to the bank to get money. It's nice to have some money around in case we need it so that we can go to the market or we can go to the store. We can do some exchange that way. So those kinds of things are great. We want to make sure that we're not focused on that. We don't want to focus on those catastrophes and disasters, but being prepared is always a great thing. Jake, Stephen, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, guys. This is a great conversation.
All right.
Thank you for being here.
Once we exit here, if you want to hang out in the green room for a couple seconds, we got some closing comments here. Misfit Nation, we love you. We hope you enjoyed the show. Remember to like and subscribe. And before we leave here, I need to tell Mrs. Holland, happy anniversary, and I love you, baby. It's been a great 17 years.
Happy anniversary to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll close the show. We'll see y'all next Tuesday.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.